What's going on, everyone? So, welcome to this match debrief. This is actually for a match that we all just shot just like 3 days ago, the Compound 21 NRL22X match. Compound 21 is actually a new club for the Pro Series, and they also host, this is actually their second NRL match they've hosted. So a bunch of us up in Montana and a lot of the local areas all headed down. My guest star today is Mark Pulver, basically borderline co-host at this point. Jason Nedved and Brooke Mangus. Please tell me I said that right, Brooke.
Yep,
Mangus?
you did. Mangus. Yep.
Mangus. So basically, the reason why I have these people on is basically we're all the winners of this match, or we all placed. Our squad was, Brooke wasn't in our squad, but our squad was basically the winner squad plus Michael. We had Mark Pulver, Jason Nedved, Michael Fast, Grant Johnson, Devin Farr. Who else did we have? Is that it?
I
think so.
That's it. So our squad basically won first through third and top youth, second place lady, and then Michael, who also still got like top. Michael was like sixth, I think.
I think he got fifth
or sixth. Yeah, he did really good. And then Brooke was in a different squad. She wasn't with us, but Brooke actually ended up getting top lady. So this is a nice podcast. We actually have winners on. So let's start
welcome
with
to the
Mark.
club.
Well, let's start. Shut up. Well, let's start with the last place shooter here, who did the worst out of everyone here. Mark Pulver in third placed overall. Mark, you want to introduce yourself?
Everybody knows me as the pulverizer, so nothing has changed, folks.
I'm not going to address you as the pulverizer ever. So.
Wait, you said
Mark?
Everything changed when I seen you. With the rifle and the setup.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that.
The immediate excuses at the match. I've changed everything. It's
Everything
a whole new
is
gun.
new.
Yeah, whole new gun. Even though we shot that gun at one of my matches like a couple of months ago. Totally new gun. Never been fired. Never been fired.
It's still Bagara.
About that, like what's going on? What are you switching up? You know?
Yeah. So I mean, usually
just
tell us
playing,
what you're running.
playing with some new barrels from Bagara, and yeah, that one actually Eric Miller did for me at AEM Precision. So it's been shooting a little slow, and I finally figured out it likes faster ammo. So that's what I was having issues with before that match. Like, I couldn't just use my old load data like you normally can with 22.
Mm-hmm.
So built the profile at that match and got it to line up.
God, that sounds like me. I never shot Center X my gun ever until the match and got velocity and everything. But I didn't get third. I got second. So, but excuses, I guess. But no. So yeah, Mark, returning guest at this point. He's basically the co-host. He's been on almost every damn podcast. Mark still shooting for Team Bergara, right? What are your other sponsors?
We got Manners, Weebad, Capstone, which is Lapua, and then. Or Lapua, sorry. And then I got Bix and Andy now, a couple others that I'm talking to, so.
Nice. And then, all right, let's go up to the next. Obviously me, Shane Scott, I got second. I actually have changed up quite a bit. My gear has changed up quite a bit this time. So I have another Voodoo. This one's new. My girlfriend took my old Voodoo, so I upgraded. I'm running a Voodoo V22. With a 1.2 straight contour 22-inch Bartline barrel put on by Voodoo. It's sitting in a brand new, thank you, Jason, MPS Matrix Pro. Thing is beautiful. Jason sold it to me. It's absolutely perfect. Balances perfectly. I accidentally just hit something, and now I can't hear anything. What the heck did I just do? There we go. Sorry. I'm still running the Vortex Gen 3 in a spur mount. Love the Vortex. It's just working great for me. And I think that's really about it. I've just been messing around with different ammos and seeing what this gun likes. It has less than probably a couple hundred rounds through it. I've shot one match with it so far. Actually, this is my second match, and I really like Center X. I've never shot Center X through it before until the match, and it grouped perfectly and shot great. And then, yeah. Oh, I'm still running my I always say it wrong every time, so I'm going to say it correctly this time. I'm running an Atlas bipod, Super Cow. And I'm running a Trigger Tech trigger currently. Still like my Bix Nandy, but my Bix Nandy, I took it apart and lost the little ball inside of it and a spring, and now I have to call Bix Nandy and get that replaced. So till I get that replaced, I'm shooting a Trigger Tech Diamond, and it shoots great. So, Jason, Nedved, you're newly on Team Voodoo.
Yes.
You're also sponsored by who else?
MDT's supported me, and same with Vortex, and then with Voodoo, Lapua helps them out, and that gets brought over to me as well. So excited to be on the team, and yep.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome that you just picked up with them. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Congratulations on that.
It's been a lot of work and a lot of fun, and I'm glad to finally make it, and I'm super excited, and hopefully I can make everybody happy. But the gear I'm running at that match, I have a Voodoo 360 with a 22-inch MTU barrel on it, and that one is it's got about 300 rounds on it after that match now.
Yeah, but
so
the
that's
problem is
working.
it's a black barrel, not a chrome barrel, so it just
Oh,
doesn't
black
look
looks
as
so
nice.
much better because it's sitting in that
that
orange
chrome just
JE.
shines.
Oh my
I do like your orange JE. That literally you can look anywhere on the line and see that gun just pop. That JE is really awesome.
Yep, and then I got the Hawkins rings. I run on that because I like that bubble level, and then I got that diving board off the front there, and that's holding a Vortex Razor Gen 3. And a Trigger Tech Diamond in that, but absolutely love that setup.
And you're running what bipod? MDT? Skypod?
Yeah, the Skypod.
Yeah,
Yep.
Skypod. Can't go wrong with that. I think, Mark, you're running a Skypod as well. Jason and Brooke, aren't you running a Skypod as well?
Yeah, double pull.
You guys are
I mean,
all
if
Skypod.
Brooke
I'm
didn't
the
have a
only one.
Skypod, I'd be surprised.
Well, that's true. So we'll
We'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Brooke Mangus, top lady, congratulations.
Thank you.
You are also a supported MDT shooter, so basically everyone here is a sponsor besides me. I suck, even though I beat Mark twice, back-to-back matches.
I believe Brooke is on.
No, we're going to Brooke now. Sorry, Mark. Gosh down there. Brooke, so go ahead and let's talk about you, Brooke. So, congratulations, you're now a sport MDT shooter. And
thanks.
then what gear you're running now?
So for my rimfire stuff, I'm running a Bergara, and then I dropped it into the MDT ACC chassis. And I have I think it's my Burris XTR2 on it. To be honest, I don't know what barrel, because my sister-in-law actually built that gun for me for Christmas a couple years ago, and the only thing I've changed on it was I swapped out a scope and then dropped it into the MDT chassis. So
I think it's the factory Bergara barrel on, if I'm not mistaken.
It
looks
could
like
be.
a factory barrel.
Okay.
Which Bergara shoots great. I mean,
yeah,
I have actually, that was my old rifle, was a Bergara, and obviously Mark shoots for Bergara, and you know Mark's testing out barrels right now, but the stock barrel for Bergara is still a phenomenal barrel. I mean,
I haven't had any issues.
Yeah, it's really good. And then what? So you are running an MDT, of course, Skypod. What trigger are you running?
I think it's the Trigger Tech Diamond, but I'm not for sure. I told you I haven't switched out anything. Like she built it.
It might just be.
It might be.
Oh, that's right. She did it.
She built it for me, and yeah, that's.
And it works.
2 stage or 1?
It's 1.
It's 1 stage.
Yep.
It might be the factory trigger. You need to hit up MDT. Maybe you can get one of their new zero stage triggers.
Yeah. Well.
I don't know if that's really good for the PRS style shooting, but
I don't know. I haven't
product?
looked into it at all. Yeah, I haven't looked into it at all. My center fire rifles are a little more customized probably than my.
Yeah, you're more of a center fire shooter. So
yeah.
I mean, all of us here, we all shoot center fire, but I would say out of all of us, you shoot majority of center fire matches over rim fire. I think kind of the rest of us are pretty. Well, I guess, Jason, you're center fire more now, too, aren't you? I mean,
yeah, I'm guessing
50-50 split.
I bet it's a 50-50 split, because every single weekend I'm shooting, and it's one or the other or both.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's kind of what whatever's close and whatever's available to pop in to go to, that's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
And then, Mark, me and you are still kind of more probably 80-20 rimfire.
Normally I'm not though. It's unfortunately
true.
I just
Now-
moved to the Minneapolis region. I can't shoot as much center fire.
I was gonna say, I don't
everything
think I've ever seen
shoot
you
the
at a
same.
centerfire match.
Yeah,
I've been to
WPR and stuff
national,
like that.
the gap grind.
Oh, okay,
I've been to some national matches.
gotcha.
Yeah, and then up here in Montana, we have that local WPR series that's up in like Montana and North Dakota and Wyoming and stuff. So we should shoot some of that. That's actually now with Mini Rifle finally getting. I just got my Defiance in after a year and a half of waiting. I finally got to shoot my own centerfire gun and shoot my own, my first centerfire match with my own gear, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, finally happy to start doing some centerfire stuff. But okay, well, cool. So introduce everyone real quick, and then so obviously we're going to be talking about the match today. This match was up in Newcastle, Wyoming. It was put on by Wes, Birkley, and Chloe. I want to say their pronounced last name Birkley, and that might be wrong. But both of them put on a phenomenal match. I think it was, 10 stages, but 9 of them counted. The 10th was one of them was a bonus stage that for like a cash payout or something like that. But yeah, so let's kind of get into the match. Mark, what was your favorite stage for this match?
Favorite stage?
Yeah.
Does it the one that counted or not counted?
Well, I mean, you can pick. If your favorite stage was the money run, or the
well, yeah, for me that is probably my favorite stage, but that's because of the difficulty of the stage. So I like difficult stages. That one was timed, had 10 targets, 5 positions, so that's just right up my alley. Unfortunately, it didn't count for points or anything.
Yeah, and you didn't win it. You got 9 out of 10. Someone got 10 out of 10. You could have won it, but
How many goes did you go?
I did end up doing 3 total. So I think the first time I shot it, got it 8, had 6 seconds left, I think, and then Mark Flotmeyer had the highest score at that point. And then apparently there was a miscommunication, so I was behind Mark Flotmeyer on time. So then I reshot it, got a 9 out of 10, and I had 36 seconds left. And then that was the standing. And then we went on to the next 2 stages, and then the squad. It was that gentleman in your squad, actually.
Yep,
Brooke.
yep, it was Zach Parker.
Yep, Zach, he shot it, and you guys were like, oh, he beat you. And I was like, okay. So then I shot stage 9, went back and reshot it, and again, dropped another shot. So.
And just for our viewers, that one it didn't count. So you get to shoot for free the first time, and then for each retry, it was $10, and you could try as many times as you wanted, couldn't you?
and the $10 to you could. It was $10 added to the pot each time. I think it started with like $150, and it was basically, I mean, there was a couple of people walking back and forth, putting in extra mulligans to try to win the pot. So that was kind of a cool stage. It was pretty interesting. So that stage was actually in their NRLX match last time back in November. It was basically these really weird kind of tank traps all tied together, or like built together essentially. Essentially makes 3 kind of tank traps. And yeah, it was distances from 50 yards, I think, out to like 120 or 30 yards. 10 targets, all different little army men. The army men are made by Atlas Targets, and I actually called up Brad over there and gave him shit because I hate those stupid army men targets, because that stage was such a pain in the ass last time. So it's cool that this time they kept it, but they didn't make it for score. It was for a pot, money pot. So it was a pretty cool stage, and yeah, it's a bunch of little army men you got to shoot.
Shane, you didn't shoot that one, did you?
No, I have this weird kind of, I wouldn't say like phobia, but if there's a stage, so like the same thing happened at the match in Minnesota, Ruth and Justin's match. They had a long range kind of ELR stage, and every time there's like a bonus stage that doesn't count for score, I'd never shoot them. It just, to me, I get it was for cash and I had a free entry, but I'd rather stay in the mindset of trying to win the match, and well, clearly that didn't work, but that's kind of the whole intent, is to stay in the mindset.
Yeah.
Weird thing I do, but that's just something I do at every match that has a bonus stage like that. But yeah, so Mark, that was your favorite stage, even though it didn't count for points.
Yeah. So for me, it just came down to it's a difficult skill level stage. It's a shooter stage, and when you give me that kind of stuff, I do tend to do better.
Yeah, I do think that was probably the hardest stage of the match. Yeah, I mean, probably with the most stressors, that was probably the hardest stage. Obviously, I'm going to say stage 10 was my least favorite stage and hardest stage, but that's only because that's where I lost to Jason, because I was leading the match up until the last stage, and then Jason comes up and cleans the damn stage, and that was the most discouraging. Oh, God, Jason. You literally sat there and turned around and smiled and was like, woo, I cleaned it. And I'm like, I fucking hate my life. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm cleaning
And I
this
had
stage.
no idea the score or nothing. It was just like, all right, last stage of the day. Let's get her done.
Well, I was doing the tablet score for you, and I just kind of sit there and I input it, and then all of a sudden you clean it, and I look, and I'm like, great, Jason just took the lead, and I can only drop one shot. So then I was up right after you, go up, shoot the stage, dropped one after like the third shot, and then I dropped another one. I'm like, fuck, there it goes. I just lost, and literally Chloe was actually recording the stage, and I literally remember right as she's recording it, and she's like filming me and walking away. I'm like, fuck, there we go. I just lost to Jason. Fuck me, and just like walked away. I was so mad. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I can't believe you cleaned it. You're the only person to clean that stage. That was actually a pretty difficult stage. I mean, it wasn't too hard, but to clean it, that was actually a hard stage to clean. So, for people listening, it's stage 10. It was the last stage they did. It was basically called Sharp Shooting Sharks. You had to shoot off of essentially a rope tied between two trees, pretty far stretched out.
Yeah, like a long rope.
Yeah, really long rope. Wasn't that sturdy. And you basically had to just take 3 shots on a shark to your right, 3 shots on a shark to your left, and kind of repeat that essentially. Then you have to do a mag change, and then again shoot 3 on the right, 3 on the left, 3 on the right. It was like 96 yards to 125. The targets were actually pretty decent. They had a lot of width to them because, they're a shark, so you was good on wind call, but that rope was just not sturdy, and I was either pulling shots over it or under it, just kind of kept throwing them. So I think I ended up dropping like 4 on that stage, and yeah, as soon as I dropped the second one, I kind of just got pissed, and I was mad. I was just like sending them like I wanted the stage to be over, but luckily I did get 6 because that actually made me beat Mark, so I'm happy with that.
That's 6. You shot 50% on that, huh?
Yeah.
Listen.
I know he's all excited, But, welcome Brooke and Jason to the Sponsored Shooters Club,
Yeah.
Maybe one day Shane will get to our level.
Listen, I beat you 2 matches back to back now, both national matches. I'm coming, Mark. You know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
There's always an excuse.
At
I learned it's
the
not about
championship,
winning to be
you'll
sponsored.
probably be like 50th. Probably
Okay,
lower.
so if I beat
Mid-pack
the
warrior.
championship match, oh, don't you dare. Don't you
You've
call
never
me
even
mid-pack
shot
warrior.
a
I don't wanna hear
2-day
it.
match. You'll struggle.
Oh, it's on. Just wait.
Are you guys
I'm
going
gonna win the whole thing.
See, here's the
nationals.
problem, Shane. So you actually brought up a great thing that we can touch into. You got into your own head at this match. So
100%.
Jason brought up a great point. Neither him or I were keeping track of score. We're just shooting stages. Like, we're just shooting to shoot our best. Jason cleans the last stage. That's how you want to end the day. You end on a great note. Boom, you're done. You went into that stage already prepared to lose because you were focusing so hard on what you needed to accomplish and worrying about Jason instead of just going up there and having shot the stage, not knowing where you would end up.
Shooting these
probably would have done it better.
sharks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
But I'm
yeah,
wondering, are
fucking
people
bright.
even hitting these things because they're so well painted?
I think it was a sticker, to be honest. I don't think they were actually. They were fucking stickers. No wonder no was shooting the fucking stickers off. But
You had
shit,
time to
I mean,
notice that,
no,
but not hit it, huh?
No, 100%. That was honestly my biggest mistake at that match, was looking at the score in the last stage there and going, well, fuck. But I mean, hey, look, I crushed it the rest of the day. I mean, pretty much stages 1 through 8, I did really good. I dropped a lot of unnecessary shots on stage 9 and then stage 10, which, Jason, you kind of had a hard time with stage 9 as well. That it was kind of a weird stage, and after looking back on it, I think we both kind of got our win calls wrong. But
I mean, I told you guys what I was doing, and then nobody listened, and I come back and people are dropping shots.
I honestly didn't hear you talk about, because the whole day we're shooting essentially west, and that stage you're shooting like northeast, and I had my wind call completely flopped. I couldn't really tell because people had already been missing off the right and off the left, so I couldn't see on the tree where I was missing. I just saw wood, and I'm like, am I missing left or missing right? So I didn't realize that I was missing left the whole time. So
for our listeners, it's 190 yards across this valley, and when Mark shot
through these trees, like a perfect cutout in the trees. It's actually really cool.
But it was kind of tough because, and I don't know why, but like I could see trees in the target or whatever. But if Mark can make it, I can make it. But when Mark shot, I was obviously paying attention, and the smoke was kind of moving to the
smoke by us.
11 o'clock.
We
should point out the smoke by us.
Moving left to right.
When Mark shot, it was right to left because it was kind of moving towards 11 o'clock. But then when I shot, I'm looking over at Grant playing with the fire, and it was kind of moving at 1 o'clock. So I favored left, I favored center, I favored right, and every time it just seemed like I would nick the edge of these things on these tree 190 yards away.
Well, I think it was weird because, like, the trees, you can't really see what's going on in that valley. You can't see the landscape. So I think that made it really tricky, too, to see what was going on that far away.
I really thought about pulling up the Windy app and just trying to figure out what was going on outside of the trees to get a better wind call. But I'm like, 190 yards. It's going to be left or right side of the plate. Let's go.
The way I approached the stage, real quick before you get into that, we were shooting with the left to right wind all day, and this stage was almost a 180-degree change. So I told Jason, I was like, hey, I did my wind the same speeds, just going in the other direction. And then the plate was about a mil wide, and I just told him, I was like, that my high end of the bracket is like 6/10. I was like, I'm just going to favor right side of the plate because it's 2 to 6. Most of my impacts were on the right side, if I remember, Jason, because I saw it blade all the time.
That's what mine was.
But I was hitting consistently, so I didn't see a point in changing. And when those kind of targets hang off a tree, sometimes you don't want to adjust too much because you might not be hitting exactly where you think you're hitting.
Yeah.
And I dropped one shot for the stage.
Keep running.
So.
Yeah, to put in perspective, essentially, there's these massive trees in front of you, and it just happened to be perfect where they cut out kind of a perfect hole, maybe 100 yards through these trees, that then opened up to a valley, and then on the other side of the valley was a tree with 2 targets on it. So all you could see looking through these trees is this perfect cutout, and then all you can see is just the tree on the other side of the valley, so you can't even see what's really going on in the valley. And when Mark, like you said, when you shot, it was left to right. When me and Jason shot, it was a complete right to left. And I was sending all my shots.
Right to left as well.
For you?
Yes.
Oh, well. I thought everyone was holding left to right, so that's why I was looking at. I didn't really, because even grabbing the Kestrel out there too. I mean, you can't really get a good wind call there because the trees are blocking you, so you really don't know what it's doing in the valley.
Yeah, if I could do that again, I would have brought up that Windy app and looked at that.
See what it's doing. Yeah, but I dropped. I think those are my 2 worst stages, like 9 and 10. Other than that, I dropped 1 or cleaned. I mean, I was doing pretty good for the day, but those were definitely my worst 2 stages. Brooke, what was your favorite stage?
I kind of liked the spinner, but I just kind of like spinners, and I like to shoot weak side, and that was it was both. So I kind of liked that one. I don't know. It was kind of easy, so it was kind of fun.
Did you clean it then?
Let me see. I gotta look back through my matchbook. Oh, I dropped 1 on the spinner because I rushed it. I just rushed the shot.
1.
Yeah.
I dropped 1 as well on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just get worried about time and think I'm not going to finish, and then that's when I kind of rush a shot and screw up a clean. That was probably pretty easy, but
Yeah, actually, that was actually my least favorite match.
Really?
Or that match. Sorry, that
Match.
stage. Yeah, that match. No, that was actually my least favorite stage. And the only reason why I am not a fan of bonus points for spins.
no.
So
I was
for
gonna bring that up.
25 points a spin.
Yes.
Yeah, that I really hate that. I mean, that was a thing that happened like a year or two ago at matches, and a lot of people were doing like these bonus points, and I can't stand it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen too many matches won by like a bonus point thing where it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, how that stage worked for everyone listening is you had to shoot a spinner, I think 4 or 5 times.
5.
Then you had to go, 5 times. Then you had to go those to your left. Then you had to look to your right and go weak side and shoot this little target. Then back to your right, shoot the spinner 5 more times. Then go to your weak side and shoot the target to the right again.
On a steep angle.
The problem, on a very
Yeah, it was
steep,
very
steep
steep.
angle.
Yeah, it was
Off like a rooftop, looking down into a really kind of straight down drop. My problem with it was so it was kind of a weird scoring. So most matches you go to, you'll have like a 10-point impact type of thing. For this stage, it was 5 points per impact, and then a full spin. It said in the book, it said a full 360 spin, all impacts are 10 points. 10 points per impact on the 2-inch target. So you got 5 for the spinner, and then you got 10 points per impact if it did a 360
if it
spin.
spun.
But
And
that's not actually what was in the
It calls
tablet.
for 12
In the tablet-
rounds with 120 points possible.
Yep.
And in the tablet, it actually had it as 5 points impact on the spinner, 25 points for a spin. So still equaled out to 120 points, but a little different what they said there. But to me, for 25 points for a spin, essentially, you're only getting 5 points for an impact on it. But then if you get it to spin in both sequences, you get an extra 50 points. So you get basically an extra 5 impacts for getting it to spin twice. To me, that just is a big gap. I definitely think that stage could have been done the same exact way, just if they would have changed
Different
how the
point
scoring
system.
works.
Yeah.
I think I would have liked that a lot more. That was just honestly, that was my least favorite stage. The whole day was great. I had no problems with any of the stages except that one. I really didn't.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it was more the scoring. It was more just the
the
scoring.
stage itself
yeah.
was great. It
yeah.
was just
yeah.
the scoring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I think in
that's similar.
PRS 22 you're not allowed to have bonus points and stuff like that. I think it's written in the rules.
And for PRS, yeah. And,
Yep.
and that's one thing, I mean, all of our local matches have gone to is just no more bonus points. You know, you can make it where, like, if you get it to, spin, or like, let's say you have to impact it till you get it to spin, or if you get to spin, you move on, or something like that. But just having it where you get a bonus point for spinning, not a fan of that style anymore. And, and this isn't talking bad about Wes or Chloe. I mean, this is like only their 3rd match putting on, and for a third match for this being their 3rd match putting on, it was phenomenal. I mean, they are doing a really good job putting on matches, and especially being so new into the sport in general. So to only have one stage that honestly, actually all the stages were great, but only one stage where scoring was the issue. For that to be the only big complaint for the day, I think that's a huge win for them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something you learn by putting on matches, and they'll learn, and they're just going to continue to improve, which is just awesome. So, but yeah, I agree that the stage itself design was great, but the scoring system, I just wasn't a fan of that.
Yep.
And you said that was your favorite stage?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have favorites. It was fun. It was things that I kind of like to do, so combined them a little bit.
What about a least favorite stage? Anything, or a stage that you wish they maybe changed, or maybe you just didn't do good on, or?
So, I think that like stage 4, the urban mile, I think the target should have been smaller.
Or more reactive.
So
Yeah,
now
yeah,
it brings
was-
up an interesting point for rimfire. Like our rifles are capable of hitting that.
Yeah.
However, when you start getting into a stage where you have to rely on sound and flashers,
Yeah.
it's less skill based. And then we're shooting at these rifles are only so accurate. So shooting at 400 yards, you have to make it a barn door to impact it. Even though yes, we can set them out there, but you're not going to hit all 12 rounds if you shoot at a 12-inch plate.
Right.
Yeah, because it was what, a 12 or no, it was not a 12-inch plate. It was way
It was
bigger than that.
big. It was big.
24 by 36 or something.
It might have
Yeah.
been bigger than
Yeah.
that. It might have been
Yeah,
36,
It was big.
48.
it was a 400-yard target at probably like 2 feet by 3 feet, maybe 3 by 3. Really big target.
It's not even so
I
much
can
the
see that.
distance that bugs me. It's that
No.
we shot 12 rounds at the same target.
Same.
And it was
Yeah.
competitive. You're shooting 4 rounds and then move 4 rounds.
Yeah.
Well, you find out that first round hit. What are
Yeah,
you going to
you're
do?
good.
You're going
You
to go
just
boom,
send
boom,
them.
boom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've already
Yeah.
hit the
That's
target.
exactly.
I'm just reconfirming what everybody knows that I've engaged it.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I hit it on the first round, and I aimed literally just top left of the target because I knew there was a left-to-right wind, and I wasn't really comfortable with my data that far yet because, again, this is the first time ever trying it out at that far. So I knew if I aim top left, I'm going to hit it with the wind, and I'm going to hit it with the drop. So regardless if it's a mil low, it's still going to hit that giant plate. And I just, as soon as I took the first shot and you guys yelled impact, I just sent 3, moved, sent 4, moved, sent 4. I mean, it was just,
Yeah.
that was probably one of my quickest stages. I just sent it as fast as possible. Yeah, I mean, definitely think that one could be reworked. Like, you can, if you want to do 400, is definitely fine.
Yeah.
Maybe make it a smaller target, and then maybe make some other targets leading up to it, so it's not just 400 for 12 shots.
I would have preferred
I think-
5 targets leading into it, and then that
Yeah,
one you
yeah.
shoot at twice, and that's it.
Yeah. Do like a troop line kind of a thing. Or...
Yeah.
Yeah, not all 12
Like
rounds.
a 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, or something like that.
Yeah.
100, 200, 300. Yeah. I mean, again,
More movement.
400-yard stage is a novelty. A lot of ranges, guys can't, like, a lot of ranges don't even have the ability to shoot 400
Right.
yards. So especially with rimfire, a lot of these guys have never shot. So for a lot of people, that actually might be a really popular stage for them because they never get to shoot their gun that far. But, for a lot of us, we have shot that distance before. So, I mean, again, we're looking at this match from a higher level of competitor, I would say, or, where a lot of us here have shot pretty big matches and have seen quite a bit, where, they're trying to also give, newer shooters the option to shoot 400 yards. So
Yeah.
I can see it from both sides, but I definitely think
totally.
that could have been reworked, but still really cool novelty stage to be able to shoot 400. I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't get the opportunity to ever shoot 400, so.
Yeah. It was a fun stage. I just think that it could have been a little smaller, Yeah.
Oh yeah, make it like a 6-inch little plate at
Yeah.
400 yards.
Yeah. Precision.
Yeah, really precision.
Well, typically we shoot it at 12-inch.
Yeah, typically a 400-yard target would be like a 400 to 500 is like what, a typical 12.
No,
12-inch plate.
that's
Is it
just
standard?
for the it's not a standard. That's just the standard if you want to set the world record.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the standard.
Yeah, we're going
Go
for
big
world
or go
records
home.
here, Mark. Yeah, exactly. Jason, what was your favorite and least favorite stage or stage we should reshoot?
Well, we've kind of talked about it, but my favorite was that sharpshooting sharks. The reason being,
Of course.
you had that, well, not only because I cleaned it, but because of the way people thought of it. Because you had a target at 96 yards and you had a target at 125. So you shot far, near, far with 2 shots per. And then a mandatory mag change, then far, near, far. But what I liked about it is they left the option open that you're on this 15-foot rope that's sagging. You can't just load into it or else you're going down the hill. And you can't go backwards because then you're going a steep uphill. You're kind of stuck right there. So it's like, okay, how nice of a balanced rifle do I have here just to be able to sit here and let the rifle do the work? But they left that option open. Do you want to bring a tripod? So, but looking at that working platform, I thought about it, but it's getting as high as you needed to get because it was over knee level. So I couldn't just take a knee and use a knee as rear support. So I was like, gosh, you bring the tripod down and try to fiddle with that. So I liked that they left that open. But the reason I didn't bring the tripod was because you were looking, up and right, and then down and left. So that was just too much of an angle to go far, near, far, mag change, and then do far, near, far again.
Well, here's my thought on that, and I was going to ask if this is even allowed, and I guess I've never actually seen them do this. So, with the rear support tripod, you extend it, you use one of the legs as support, you clamp your hand against the rear of the gun and the tripod.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't someone essentially essentially leave the tripod, because you had to deploy the tripod on time, so it had to be fully collapsed. Why couldn't you leave it, if you had an average size tripod, leave it on the lowest setting, put a bag on top of it, and then you sunk your gun into the top of the tripod with a bag on the back of it?
Yeah,
Nothing
you can.
against doing that. It just takes more time trying to get that
Yeah.
height
Yeah.
and working
You have to have
but
the exact
when people
height.
use the leg,
Yeah.
you can,
Gotcha.
like Mark just said, you have the exact height. But using the leg, you can go up and down all you want. Slide your hand up and
Yeah.
down that leg, and
Gotcha.
you'll be wherever height you need.
Because I thought about that after. I was like, why didn't they just? Because my tripod would have been almost a perfect height. I could have used like a rear pump or a pump pillow and just thrown it on top of that thing, kind of being able to squish it into where I wanted, and kind of had a nice rear support. Because that rope was really wobbly. I mean, again, it was, you were fine left and right. My gun balanced great. It was just that swaying back and forth. My mistake was I loaded too much into it. So when I loaded too much into it, I pushed it forward, and I would work that bolt, and I would start to come as a rock. It was like kind of a perfect kind of, almost like a boat, and I needed to probably not load into it as much, or let it just settle down and kind of just hold it down instead of pushing forward.
See, I didn't even touch it. I just let the rifle balance there and tried to get it on target. I just let it bounce.
Yeah.
I didn't even push forward. I didn't push back. I just let it sit. Yeah. So yeah, just because of the options that they left open for that was my favorite. Make you think about it. I kind of like stages like that. Like, when match directors do 90-second stages, well, you got to think, am I going to rush through this or to get here? Where am I most stable? Make those shots count. It just adds a whole new dynamic, well, whatever, to it. So it's pretty sweet. But there was one match director, and it's still by far my favorite match, was in Colorado at Grand Junction by Crate, I think his name was.
Crete Lewis.
Crete. Yeah, you were there. I think you were there.
I've shot all his 22 matches.
Gosh, that one was still by far my favorite. In combination of the venue and the flight and what he had going on. Well, he had 2-minute stages to make people happy, but he had a really high round count on every stage, and that just added to it. You got to do mag changes because it was more than 12 rounds, more than 15 rounds, and it was still by far my favorite. 2 minutes, but a lot of shots going down range, and yeah, still one of my favorite matches.
Yeah, I think another one of my really fun stages was, and I know a lot of people didn't really like the stage. I really liked it, but the 2 snakes in a pipe. It was a very simple stage. You had to shoot 2 different snakes in a pipe, but the pipe was hanging from a tree.
The problem I have with this
gimme
stage,
on it.
let's explain the target to somebody. There's a target hanging in the tree at 58 yards. Hanging.
Essentially, think of a snake charmer
By
target,
a long
but instead
rope.
of it instead of a snake charmer in a bucket of water where the water is bouncing around stuff, this is a target hanging from a long rope, and it's a pipe hanging from a long rope. So you had to shoot. I think it was 2 shots at the pipe, then shoot the right target twice, then 2 shots at the pipe, shoot the left target twice, then 2 shots at the pipe. If I'm not mistaken.
Yep, that was right. Yep, with movement.
With movement, yeah, you had to go off of different props. There was like a tire, top of tire, and a tank trap. So you had to move after every
2 shots.
Yeah, I would have liked to redesign that stage. Instead of shooting 2, I would have liked a third target, and I would have liked you to engage the pipe, the hanging target, with 1 shot, and then you move. Or engage the next target for your second shot, move, engage. But the problem was every time you shot that pipe the first time, it moved in an unpredictable pattern. And I even tried, and I'm pretty good with my shot timing, and I was watching it through the scope, and then I was like, oh, I'll find the arc and then hit it at the apex. And then it would change on me, and I was like, okay, now I'm wasting time trying to predict an unpredictable pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really like, I know it's a gimme, a novelty stage, but I really like snake charmers and stuff like that. So just kind of see a snake charmer, but in hanging from a tree. I see the negative though, because like I did see people afterward on shooting, the wind picked up and that target was already spinning in a circle from the wind. So obviously I noticed that with some people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of just sitting there like in a circle. And the fact that to shoot it 2 times back to back didn't really leave a lot of time for that thing to calm down.
Yeah, unfortunately, it becomes kind of
Charmer.
luck based at that point.
I can see that. Yeah, I mean, not as straightforward. I mean, you are having a variable that could cause you to miss a shot. I really enjoyed that, but yeah, other than that, I mean, the stages were pretty decent. I mean, you'd have a good mix of movement, different targets, just kind of a good overall course of fire. I had my evil mover again. I still need to learn how. I know it's not hard.
God, you guys, I should have just let you guys just fucking fail. So, okay, well,
I've shot him before. I just still I get confused with the shit out of me.
For
I know
anybody,
it's 1 mile an hour.
Yeah, for anybody who would like to know how you shoot a mover, you dial the wind out, and then you have the same lead either direction. The lead is going to be it's usually around 1.5. Now again, we're all going to be slightly different. Might be 1.2, 1.4, whatever.
Well, I think that they also run their mover. When we went to their monthly match, they said it was at like 4 mile an hour. They don't run it at 3.
Well, but rimfire is only supposed to be ran at 1 mile an hour to match
yeah.
the same speed as center fire movers.
Okay.
Center fire. So center fire is at 3 and a rimfire is at 1. And I want to say they have the same mover that we have, the DM targets mover, and I think it's set to 1.
Is it? Okay.
Unless he has the one that you can change, but
that's
one thing I do wish if it isn't 1, that they needed to state that.
They need to tell. Yeah.
Yeah. But I want to say it was a 1 mile an hour mover because that's typically how DM targets are, is a 1 mile an hour, unless they have I know he's coming out with like a new one. I think he said you can change the miles per hour on it, like make it go like 1 mile an hour one way, then 2 or something like that. But I don't know if they had that one.
No, it was just your standard 1 mile per hour.
Okay.
That stage was actually my least favorite stage because we had vital targets on that stage.
Yeah.
Oh, see,
I knew that was coming. I know Mark doesn't like vitals.
Get good.
Hit the tiny target.
I did hit the tiny target, and then I still get penalized for it.
I didn't see it flap. Gotta flap all the way up. I made him flap, no problem. Jason made him flap, no problem.
See, I just can't afford those targets. That's why I don't have them here. If I want a small target, I just get a small circle. Not a huge plate, all this steel and weight and cost. No.
Listen.
I just get a little $6 piece of steel and call it good.
You can hit up Brad. Brad will hook you up. You can get those targets.
Yeah, I gotta.
It's like I bought his army men because I hate those fucking things. All of his targets. I told him he needs to make some like cool little novel. I mean, keep them like small, but make some like he did a Christmas pack of like. A candy cane and a gingerbread man and stuff. I mean, and like Rudolph, whatever. He needs to do a lot more of those. I think those are kind of cool because they basically are still a 1, 2, 3 inch circle at the end of the day or a diamond. They just have a little extra on them. I think those are kind of just cool. But
I got his bullseye ones. Those are a lot of fun because they're kind of manipulative because it's a 10-inch target, but realistically in the center you have a 3-inch circle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and his vitals are awesome. I love his vital targets. Mark just sucks at shooting vitals.
No, it just
be better, Mark.
Unfortunately, when you have a bonus point stage, we have the same amount of impacts and different scores.
True.
It was why you were complaining about the spinner.
I do agree with that. That the points were a little different on that stage, where it was 5 points for. Basically they were giving you. There's no way you miss that target straight up. I mean, it's a huge animal, so they're basically giving you 5 points, and then if you hit the vital, you got an extra 5. Which again, I think you're right. It would have been better if it was just the vitals, because then you had to hit the vital, and if you didn't hit the vital, then you didn't get the point. So I can see that whole like non-bonus point thing. I agree with that. But with the mover, I just can't fucking hit movers. I don't understand it. Fucking at the Minnesota match, I ended up shooting the wrong fucking target on the mover. I didn't know that there was a top and a bottom, and shot the bone. Well, they left both targets on it, and
Weird.
the match or the RO didn't tell me that you had to shoot the white target. I just shot the massive pumpkin at the bottom because I guess it was a side stage from earlier in the day. I didn't shoot the side stage, so I had no idea the pumpkin was an extra target. So I just shot the shit out of the pumpkin, and apparently that was the wrong target. So
Shit.
I hit it. It was a big ass pumpkin at like 60 yards, but. But yeah, so no, those are. I think that was probably one of my. Like, I really liked the snake pipe. I really liked the Wyoming safari. Hit the kill zone shot. I think those are really fun. Mover's always fun. I think overall the course of fire was pretty good. I definitely think that, I don't know what your guys' opinion on it is, but I kind of like the standard of the sport going down from 2 minutes to like a minute 45 or a minute 30. 2-minute stages to me are just starting to get too long, especially at big matches. But I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just kind of my opinion on it. I think the sport needs to go a little bit shorter times, but my hot take.
Yeah, by all means, you can time out. I'll gladly finish with my 30 seconds. And then we'll see how your attitude changes.
We all have to shoot it with the same. That's all.
No, that's my point.
not-
You're going to time out, and I'm going to finish the stage.
Oh, I mean, sure. Whatever you say, Mark. Back-to-back beating marks. That's all it takes for me.
Yeah, that's what I liked about that match in Colorado was high round count. Still 2 minutes, but it's a high round count. So you got to think. Plan how you're going to do it.
I mean, again, there obviously is a negative. You obviously don't want it to be too high of a round count, having like short time and tons of rounds. Then you obviously can have too short amount of time. So obviously there's a catch both ways. But I don't know. I really like the like some of these big matches now. Like Ruth and Justin matches are going, I think, to a minute 45 or a minute 30 for most of their stages, and the 2 minute, I think we still do at our monthly matches and stuff. But I mean, I've been to matches now where some of them are like 2:30. I'm like, God, that's just a long time, man. 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 minutes.
Are you talking about your matches?
Unless you're doing.
I believe you were doing 3 minutes at one point.
Holy
I
cow.
don't think we've ever done 3, have we?
I'll show you a match book.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I wrote that course of fire. 'Cause I don't think I've ever done a 3. It may have been like
3 minutes is a
Trevor
long
or
time.
Will or something. I don't think I've ever done a 3-minute stage. I actually, at the back, I think Trevor did do a 3-minute one time, but that was one that was like a shit ton of movement. Like it was like 100-yard of movement in a stage where like you shot, then like move forward, shot. I don't. Other than that, I don't think we've really done much 3s. Most of our stuff's 2. But yeah, so overall thoughts on the match. Would you guys go back? Well, is there anything you think they should change? Do you think, anything they should keep and bring back for next time? Props you liked, anything like that?
Go ahead, Brooke.
I knew you were going to do that.
Going out.
Perfect. I would go back. It's nice and convenient. Actually, honestly, it's our closest match. Otherwise, we're traveling like three and 4 hours, so it'd be hard to say we weren't going to go back. But
yeah, it's only an hour and a half for you guys.
Yeah. It's like
lucky.
we actually
It
get
took me
this.
5.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't really have like favorites. I've never written a course of fire, so like as far as like things I don't like or things I do like, is whatever they tell me to do, I'm cool with doing whatever. If I time
I'm
out.
have to change that. I'm gonna have to have you and Ben do the next course of fire thing.
Shit.
Have you guys come out? You guys ride it.
When we go to the range, he'll go, okay, you can come up with a course of fire, and then I'll come up with a course of fire. And I'm like, you can come up with all the courses of fire, and you just tell me what we're doing, because I don't care. So I didn't really have any complaints. I know the rope was probably it was my worst stage. They had a rope stage off in their monthly match, and I did better, so I'm not really sure what I did different this weekend. So I definitely told Ben that we will probably be hanging a rope in the basement, and I will be figuring out where how I need to stabilize a little better, because that one kind of rocked me. It was my first stage of the day, and I usually am just kind of nervous anyways, and so maybe that was part of it too. Because I always have at least one bad stage, and it's usually right at the beginning. But yeah, I don't know. All
I'm
the
definitely
things.
the same way.
Yeah.
I typically try to plan my matches. If I've been to a range before, I try to plan my start to a stage
Yes.
where I think that's going to be an easier first
Yes.
stage or a really long range first.
Totally.
because hopefully the wind is more than... So I've been
Yes.
in that range before, so I was like
Yes.
hoping stage 1. That's why I made myself squad 1, because I'm like, they did the
Yep.
long range on squad 1 or stage 1 last time.
Yep.
And then this time they don't even fucking do the long range on stage 1. I'm like, god damn, my whole plan has been messed up.
Yep.
I did it at like 5. I was like, fuck, let's hurry up and get to it before the wind picks up, guys.
Right?
I've never
Right.
thought of that.
Oh, man.
Oh, dude,
Promise you,
it-
I've
For, like-
never thought of that.
Yes,
Nope.
for like center fire matches when we go to Cody. Cody is always like stage 3 or stage 4. We're always like, should we start on the long range so we don't just get hosed at the end of the day
Yep,
when the wind
especially
just
in
rips?
Cody. Yep.
Yes.
Cody, the
Good
wind
point.
always picks up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. It's like, and Ruth and Justin's match do the same exact thing. I try to always start on 1 because typically, if you're down there in this, or at least for the summer match, the long range stuff's on the left, and then you get blocked by the trees on the right. So typically, hopefully, to get through the long range earlier on in the day, and then for their night match, I've always started on stage. I've always been stage or squad 1 because I don't know, just the night matches. I rather just be done at the end and not have to. Also, like, I'm fat. I don't want to walk the
See,
course
that's
Oh my
twice.
god.
So if I could start on 1 and end on 10, I'm done.
That's
I was
hilarious.
100% lazy.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I'm like, call me lazy.
100%.
You know, I always try to get to squad 1, so I have to walk the least.
Yeah.
Guys.
Exactly.
I don't even
Never
care
looked
where I
at,
start.
which ones are long, which ones are whatever. No.
Well, it was like the Pro Series Championship last year. Like, I didn't shoot, obviously, I put on the match, but, like, it started on top of a hill and you ended at the bottom. If you started on, like, stage, I don't know, 6, you had to do the hill twice, I mean, you could obviously drive, but a lot of guys hiked it. But, fuck, if I would have just started on 1 and walked downhill and then popped in my car at the end of the day and was done at the bottom of the hill. You gotta plan that shit. The fat boy thing. Come on. I can't believe you guys never thought about that shit.
That's
Me and Brooke on the
hilarious.
same page.
Yeah,
got
we
this.
are. We are.
Never thought of that.
Oh, God.
That's funny.
Jason, Mark, you guys think you guys are going to come back to another one of the matches up there?
Yeah, I see a lot of potential with Wes and Chloe and Dave. There are some things I'd like them to tighten up on. Just some stuff that's been phased out that we talked about with different values for targets. Getting rid of some of the gimmicky stuff, and then, the props. All the props were good. I liked their creativity there. So maybe just add some more targets, some more movement, and then that's really how you just tighten up the match.
I think
Everything's the
Devin's
same
only
points.
complaint-
Yeah.
I think Devin's only complaint was the rooftop, the massive rooftop stage. The long. I think it was
She
the long
had the
range
issue
side.
at the spools too, so that's the thing as a match
yep.
director where Wes is like Jason and I, we're all
He's
tall.
tall.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for us height isn't an issue, but you got to realize
When
like
Devin's
do you have
5 foot
youth?
tall and she can't.
Yeah.
She can't even look over the top of the spool stage. Not even close.
So then
She's on her tippy toes and still can't see down her rifle.
then it's
And the
something where you're like,
rooftop
oh
stage-
shit.
Yeah, for the rooftop stage, I mean, they had those little notches cut out so you could put your foot on,
Yeah.
like up to a certain height. Shoot, Devin on her tippy toes was barely at the top of that thing. I mean, she was not. He needed like one more step, like 6 inches more farther, and she could have got on the top of the rooftop. But she was struggling hard on that. I think Grant kind of barely made it. Grant Johnson, the youth shooter, he barely made it, and he's slightly taller than Devin. So, it's definitely something to think about. That's why I like with us putting on our matches. It's really nice. Devin's like, all right, yeah, this stage is not possible. This stage is not possible. Like she's my little hobbit that can sit there and go proof all the stages for me for youth and ladies because. I'm 6 foot, Jason's taller, Mark's taller. I mean, I can look in the perspective of a tall shooter, but I'm not it's a whole different world being a foot shorter. I mean, 5 foot, that's small. So yeah, you have to really put your course of fire or design your course of fire to be able to do like youth and some lady shooters. Actually, I can't remember which match we went to, but there was maybe Mark, I think you were with me. I can't remember which one it was though. What match did we go to that had the mini tank trap for youth shooters? You remember that?
So I heard you talking
You know what
to
I'm
somebody
talking about,
about
right?
this, but I don't believe the tank trap was mini for shorter or smaller people. I think
Well,
it's
no,
just a
they did. They
miniature
had
tank trap.
three.
No,
Well, they
and
had.
it was Ruth
Well,
and
I know.
Justin's
Yeah,
summer match, and
that's
it's
right.
just a smaller tank trap to be a lower target, so you have to get down. It's not for like height purposes at all.
I don't know if it was. I remember. I can't remember which match it was. There was three. Maybe it was, but there was three tank traps, three different sizes: a large, a medium, and a small. And I want to say it was like you had to basically use a tank trap, but you could pick which tank. It might have been a center fire match. It might have been down in Cody. Actually, not thinking about it. But
Yeah, and usually
yeah,
it's not
it
because
was.
they're designed for youth. It's just that they made a small tank trap so that
Well, I think tank trap
it's not as
especially
comfortable for you.
if you. Yeah, I mean, especially for youth and late and shorter people for tank traps, it can be a really big problem. I mean, having like a high tip on a tank trap and you can't even get to,
Yeah.
especially at the match, Devin of course chooses the tank trap, the highest tip on the tank trap on I think it was what stage 2, and I was sitting there like we all the tall people use the shorter tank trap tips, and then she used the tallest one, and I'm like, what are you doing, woman? Like, why are
She
you
wanted to
using...
stand up straight.
You're she's the shortest person there, and she's struggling. I'm like, what? Get on a lower tip. You're crazy. But, yeah, that's one thing. That she's, Devin got second place lady, and, that's something she's learning is, like, getting a game plan. She is getting better with it. She obviously still needs more work with it, but like just the game plan. She'll get to a stage and she'll get all of her data, and then it starts. And she never, like, let's say she started third. She didn't watch anyone else shoot the stage. She just looked down the glass or kind of just did her own thing. And then she's like, well, I don't know what the kind of strategy is. I'm like, well, you gotta know what your strategy is going to a stage. I mean, that's the whole point, like think about where on the prop you're gonna build your position. Can you get, maybe a pump pillow tucked into your arm, or can you get a good sturdy position on your support arm? I mean, there's a lot of things you have to think about, and yeah, she's still getting
yeah.
there. She's improving. So
It takes time. It takes time to kind of figure that out. Yeah.
So. But trophies, I actually want to bring that up real quick because I have my trophy here. It's a really, really nice trophy because it says number 2 on it, and that's higher than Mark's 3.
But they are fragile.
They're what?
Fragile.
Did you break
Fragile.
yours?
Oh, did you break it?
I broke both the hands off of one of them.
Oh my god.
Not the whole arm, but the hands. They broke off. I'm like, how?
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're thin.
So,
And I think Grant broke
so whoever
off
listening,
a little bit.
they are 3D resin trophies.
You be
And
cured.
Yep, and they're basically, it's like a snowman. At least I think they're all a little slightly different, but there's like ice shards on it with like a snowman, and mine's a red trophy that says second, because it's better than Mark's third. But they're just
Not
actually
better
I mean,
than mine.
yours.
Yeah,
okay.
his first trophy that he's ever gotten. Probably his last two.
Listen. Okay, listen, mister. No, my only complaint about the trophies is
It's like my fifth
Jason's
this season.
ginormous. Okay, listen. Who won the last 2 matches? I did. Thank you very much. Shane 2, Mark 0. But for the trophies, so there was a first place, I think, open, then an overall trophy. The overall trophy was huge.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I didn't
think
know why there was 2 of them.
Yep, so they didn't open in overall.
Shane and I
think
talked
me and
about
Mark
this
had
today.
Talked about this.
Yeah.
The NRL rules are kind of confusing because
Okay.
it kind of contradicts itself. It says that there's like, an open base, young guns, air rifle, senior whatever division, ladies division, youth. There's all these divisions, but then it says at the bottom it says you have to choose a division you're in and you have to compete in that division. But then
Right.
it says ladies at the bottom can also compete in the open division. But it doesn't say they have to opt out of the ladies, so it's a little confusing if they
Okay.
can double dip or not. And I
Okay.
think the reason why Chloe and Wes did it is because Camden Powers went to the last match, and she won overall,
Yep.
and they didn't have trophies then, but she won top lady overall. So I think they did it just in case. I mean, I know
Yep.
the WPR finale, the same thing happened where a B class shooter won the overall.
A class. Yep.
So,
Yep.
So they had to kind of do. So I think they just kind of did that to cover themselves, which is
I
totally
see.
fine.
Yeah, and
Yep, that
and the
makes
open
sense.
isn't meant to necessarily be a class so much as like you aren't restricted. So it's like
Right.
open is usually just 1,
It's
2,
everybody.
3 overall.
But that's what you would think, but the NRL rules kind of contradict that because they say that you have to pick a class you want to be in, but then also say the opens for every. So I understand, I agree with what you're saying, but the rules were a little confusing, so I can see why they did this.
Yeah, that makes
but no,
sense. Yeah.
My gripe with it was the first place overall was a huge trophy. The second and third were these smaller trophies, obviously. The only thing is, I don't mind it being smaller, but you get less detail with the smaller trophies. The big trophy, Jason's trophy, you could see so much detail on it. It looks so cool. The second place still looks cool, but the first place one just had so much detail because it's such a bigger trophy. I thought
Gotcha.
it was really cool. But no, the trophies are still really cool. What is yours? Green, blue? What do you get? Mine's red.
His
Mine's
was
like
a light
a
blue.
emerald or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry
Yeah,
about
mine's
that.
like a blue, like a light blue color. Yeah.
Mine was green.
Yeah, yours is green. Yeah, third place loser. But yeah, no, I think the trophies are pretty cool. I mean, obviously they weren't the standard metal ones; they're 3D resin, but I think it's different. I mean, I am not complaining about them. I think it's kind of cool. So, I know some people want.
Well,
like,
they also
trophy
gave out
mark,
mugs.
but-
We can't forget about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who
That
has
looked
first
pretty
place
cool.
trophies? Who's number one in the league? Oh, that's right.
I have tons. No,
Not
actually,
Shane
you're
Scott.
not even number one in the league. Actually, Jason's number one in the Pro Series currently.
We're not.
Only
This wasn't
shooter to
even a
have
Pro
perfect
Series
score.
match. It was an NRL22X match.
Yeah,
think it-
technically,
Yeah,
It
yeah.
counted.
technically,
It did
counts
count.
For both.
It
counts
did.
for both.
Yeah, it did
Yeah.
count.
Yep.
Because
That
that's
is
our
an
like.
affiliated club.
Yep.
Yep.
Because then it was
is a-
it counted as like a extra location.
Neutral site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So with the Pro Series and how it works is any big level or big caliber match that that a match director wants to submit scores at, even if they already host multi-matches, that site, since it's going to bring in a lot of shooters from all over the place, becomes now a neutral site for that event. So that actually, so Brooke has shot a monthly match there, so she has her one score for that club, her
Yep.
top score for that club. She has a top score for Billings. And then since she shot this X match, that actually counted as a third venue. So she now has 3 scores. But no, since Jason ended up pulling the win right there, he became the first shooter in the Pro Series to have 3 perfect scores going in. 3 perfect scores at 3 different perfect score at 3 different venues. So now he's going to the championship with a perfect score of, I think it's like 315 or something like that, and then the championship score will add on to that. So, Mark, you gotta get one more first place at a different venue, dude. Struggle bussing right now.
Struggle busting.
You know, you move. Well, yes,
Yeah,
Okay,
soul
hold
crush.
on, whoa, okay.
Jason already knows. Like Shane's gonna get a
Listen,
soul crushing
I just
experience.
beat Mark in 2 matches in a row, big national matches, and you're gonna give me shit? Listen, okay. The last match I
37
beat him at-
shooters.
Hold
Compared
on.
to no, Jason's talking about a national championship that's gonna have like
Yes,
250
I-
of all
Yes,
the
I
top
agree,
shooters.
I agree. But
And then when you
the
come
last 2
crying
matches
to
I've shot
me-
against you, oh god.
And you're like,
The
how?
last 2 matches I shot against you at were the night match, which I took, I think, 5th, and then I now beat, and that was a 100-person or 80-person match, big national
I think
match.
it was 80.
And then this was an NRLX match. I think they had 40 shooters. Obviously, not as the same amount of shooters, but still pretty good competition. And I won. So at the end of the day, at the NRLX matches for this season, I'm 2-0 against you. So for me, that's a win.
How many trophies do you have of all the matches you've been to?
Actually, take that back. You beat me at the summer match. So that's
Yeah,
2-1.
who won that match? 104 shooters, most in NRL22X history.
Listen, it's a 2-1.
Brooke, would you like to
situation,
know who
right?
won
We'll
that
see
match?
what happens. No, actually, Mark's
tell.
mic just cut out randomly. No one can hear Mark. It's weird. I just edited him out of the whole podcast. It's crazy.
No, I did tell Wes and Chloe that I think they would benefit a lot going to that match because Ruth and Justin, not only do they put on a good match, but the work they put into the match. So, like, one thing I would like to see with Wes and Chloe doing this match in the future is like a Friday check-in. And then that cash stage we did, instead of that being in the middle of our course of fire, because it did kind of
Do it
slow everybody
Do the
down.
Friday night.
Friday or after the match, just so it's not slowing down the match flow, because I'm sure a ton of people used mulligans on that stage, so you're
And
just
kept going back and going back.
you're just slowing
yeah,
things
yeah.
down.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair.
But no, Jason, to answer your question, yes. So last year I did not get an invite to the NRL Championship. I know I could have done a monthly match and gone in that way, but my goal was to make top 100. Obviously, I didn't do that. This
God,
year,
what a
I
bummer.
think Listen, I was new. Now I'm 33rd, I think, or something like that, 30 something. So obviously I'll get an invite. So I am planning on going to the championship this year and beating Mark. So that's all that matters. I will walk away with a win over Mark. Listen, any match, I don't care what I finish, as long as it's above Mark, I can say I'm better than Mark. So right now, 2-1 for the season.
I do have because this is my first 22X match. Because I know Shane, you'll do some longer targets and stuff with your guys' monthly match. But I kind of honestly thought that our average target would be distance would be 200 at least, and I just didn't feel like they were that.
No, so
far.
most X matches are 200 and in.
Oh.
No, 300.
Yeah, so an X 300 in. Sorry. The only thing that makes an X match, at least what it originally was, to make an X match different than a normal one, was normally the NRL course, the monthly course fire when it was 100 yards and in. Then they added an option 2, which let it go 200 and in. And with an X, basically, it's meant to be a higher caliber match, and it's 300. Or typically, the average is 300 yards and in.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, it doesn't stand for extreme long range. I think it just is X, So,
Okay.
but this sport as a whole, it's kind of going. The average is that 50 to 200 is kind of the average. Now.
Okay.
A lot of guys are not going super far, like Mark said, with the whole 400-yard target. It's a novelty thing, but there is 22 ELR matches, so if people want to get the long range, they can go to that type of stuff.
Okay.
But for the PRS style stuff, it's typically 300 and under. So for our Pro Series Championship, I think we won't have a single target past 3. The average is going to be 200.
Okay.
Probably 100 to 200 probably be the average for us.
Okay.
We might have maybe one past 300, but I want to say with the course fire so far, it's all under 300.
Okay.
And most of them are under 2.
Yeah, because you did a long range last year. You did one long range.
But that was a barn door and a half. I mean, that thing was, 400 yards, but that thing was a door.
Yeah, but unfortunately it had a
It's
similar issue where you were listening or looking for flash.
Yep.
And that's the issue with 22s and long range. If you don't have a dedicated spotter sitting there, really watching with a high power, spotting scope, it's kind of, we have a flasher on it, but they don't always work. Or they, for instance, when Mark was shooting, you dropped 1. But the reason why Mark dropped 1 is realistically we didn't hear it. Not saying didn't hit it, but we didn't hear it, and the flasher didn't go off, and no one really saw it.
Yeah.
Now he hit all the other targets, so more than likely he probably did hit it.
Right.
But when 3 guys are watching and there's no noise, and nothing, you're you can't.
Right.
You want to give it, but you're anyone else see nothing? Everyone's no.
Well, and I think
hard.
Yeah, by the time we got to it, I think the flasher was kind of you could see it, but then I think it was loose on the edge of the target, so it would swing kind of parallel, the light part of it would swing towards the target, and then you could kind of see it, but kind of not. So, yeah.
We didn't even notice it until probably the 4th or 6th impact made on it, and then there were a couple times it didn't go off. But Brooke, you and Ben shot the WPR finale 2 years ago. You remember the mile target in Billings?
Oh gosh, yeah.
So I think it ended up only having 3 impacts on it total, 2 or 3.
There's 3 impacts on it.
Wow.
But I think people had given themselves up to 6 points. Not one person got 6 impacts, but there were allegedly going into it. Yeah, because you can't tell it's too far.
Right.
Yeah, with that distance with center fire, same thing with rim fire, 400 or 500 yards. It's really hard to tell. That's why this sport is more building a good position.
Yeah.
getting quick shots off and being precise with smaller targets. Like you don't have to go super long distance to, get the same kind of effect or same thing you're trying to do.
Right.
Like, with their match with the 400-yard target, it was a barn door. At our championship last year, we had a long range target. It was a barn door.
Right.
Like, to make it in a not just a straight up luck based stage, because a lot of guys, to be honest, in this sport, a lot of the ranges don't go past 200 yards. So if you throw in a 500-yard target at one of these matches, some of these shooters are like, I have no data on this. Now, yes, there's a check-in day, and hopefully if they have that distance, then they'll let you do that in your check-in day if get some data out that far. But if you just throw in someone that's never shot in the 22 world, past 200, and you're saying, all right, we have 500-yard targets at a foot, foot played at 100 or 500 yards, that's a big jump for some shooters.
Yeah.
That would be, I don't know what the exact math would be breaking the centerfire world, but I mean, obviously we shoot over 1,000 yards in centerfire, but all of a sudden, let's just say the average is under 1,200, and all of a sudden you go to a match and we're shooting 2,000 yards. You're like, wait, what? I didn't know this is an AR
that's
style match.
Cody, Wyoming, Heartman.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have elk at 2,200
Full
yards.
size elk, yes.
It's like, yeah, cool.
Yes.
I'm just lobbing lead at that distance. Not planning to hit it.
Right.
Yeah. But again, novelty stuff. But I mean, that's like with our championship match, we're trying to make everything, an impact's an impact. The point's the point. There's no bonus points or this.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
We'll have a couple time stages. Then that will be like the whole 0.01 whatever points per second you have left. So
You need them for tiebreakers.
Yeah.
So here's my question, because Ben and I talked about this, because he doesn't like the bonus points either. In like center fire stuff, and I know it's a little different, but some matches will weight like your first round impact will be weighted more because you had a good wind call. I know it's a little different with 22.
Yeah, well,
I know that. I've seen
are you talking about
that.
Peter's scoring system?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know they do that in Cody.
So, if you ask Peter, he does it because it kind of gets away from having ties.
Yes.
The problem with it is that the weights are so heavily based on your first. So if you have a 10-round stage, and we both get 4 impacts, but you get the first 4 impacts, and I get the last 4 impacts, and this happened to me at a stage a year ago. You would have a score of like.
You're talking about the rimfire match we did?
No, the center fire match.
Okay.
I'm sure he does it at rimfire too. You end up with like 15 points if you got your first 4 impacts, or 17, something really high, and then if you got your last 4 impacts, you have like a score of 3. And it's
weird.
But we both
That's
shot 40% of the stage.
Right.
So, yeah, this is now we're getting into, it's like, you just try to get rid of all the stuff. An impact is an impact, and they're worth the same amount of points.
Because that happened to me and Mark at a match that we shot where Mark got first. I think I ended up getting like
the Lewistown match.
If you go off of impacts, I was second. I was tied for second. But because of the first round impact being worth, essentially, if you got your first round impact and missed the next 2, and then someone missed the first round impact but got the next 2, the guy who got the 1 impact still outscored you. And that style, I mean,
that's not.
It was
so
like weighted 5
weighted
points for the first round impact. The second round impact was worth
2,
and then it was 1.
2, yeah.
So
that's a big. Big
you could
difference.
shoot 40% of the stage because it was a 12-round stage, and you shot 3 rounds at each target, and I would still have a higher score than you, and you shot 2 times more than I did. It was just a goofy.
Yeah,
you shot 80% of the stage. Yeah.
I mean, again, and a lot of match directors have gone away from that. I don't think that was at a Lewistown match. I don't think he's done something like that before. And again, monthly match stuff, people like to try out new things, and some things work, some don't. So that's obviously, a test. But I know when we went down to Sheridan, me and Mark and shot one of their centerfire matches, it was a hunter match. So it was a little different where your first round impact was worth more, but if you hit it, it was a kill shot, it was done, you move on. Instead of so obviously you have 3 attempts to hit it. If you hit on the first one, you get the most points, move on. If you hit on the second, you're done. Like if you can take up to 3 shots. So those I can understand matches like that where it's a point based thing because it's killed to move on type of thing. But yeah, if you go to matches where it's just like like you said, like a Peter match where it's worth more for a first round than a last, and you have to shoot it 3 times. Again, this is just my opinion, but I just don't think that's something I enjoy. So
Okay.
I like it. Just an impact's an impact.
That's interesting that they did that with the like hunter style, because even like the NRL hunter like 2-day matches don't wait.
Yeah, and I guess it probably is a
impacts.
bad thing. Not 100 matches in like you have
It's
to
a
range
dead
type of
target
thing. It's more of
system.
a
It's not
dead target.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Not like the actual hunter range.
Got you.
Not that.
Got
style.
you. Okay.
So, yeah, there's tons of different scoring systems. I mean, you
Yeah.
went to my 2-man team hunter match.
Yep.
Where it was a full blind a relay start, which not a lot of matches do relay starts, or I guess shotgun or tea time start times type of thing. And then you were scored on impacts and then overall time.
Yep.
So I mean, not a lot of matches you go to do that format either. So and some people probably hated that format. So again, it's just every match there's different things, and it's all personal preference really of what you enjoy. But at least for our championship, an impact's an impact.
Yep.
And I hope more matches start to do that. Just
Yeah, that's fair.
I just can't stand bonus stages or bonus points anymore. I remember, and he'll even tell you this, but Levi Fox up in Lewistown won the Big Sky State Games match 2 years ago because there was a spinner stage, and if you got the spinner to spin, it was like 5 points per spin, and he hit it perfectly like 6 times in a row, and the thing just kept spinning, and he ended up like, let's say the average was like 100 points that stage, he had like 250.
Holy crap.
Like it was just
Yeah.
this, like he just perfectly kept dinking it every time, and like those type of things, and you learn. Like I was like, I'm never doing that again because
Right.
it obviously like messed the whole event
Right.
up. So
Right.
just stuff like that you learn and stuff.
So since we're on the topic, what about like a KYL target? Okay, you got 5 targets, and it goes from
Yeah, I don't
large
do
to
that
small.
anymore.
You need
Nope,
to
don't do the weird values anymore.
Well, you
least I
just need
don't.
to go and clear it. It's not weird value. It's not worth different points. Each one is worth 1 point. And
Yeah, exactly.
the max
I
amount
agree.
of points is 5 or whatever, but you get 10 rounds to do it. But for me, to find the best shooter, why not give credit to rounds remaining? I've been to matches like
And
that,
I
and
agree
I
with that.
absolutely
I have
love
no
it.
problem with
Yeah.
I have no problem with the rounds remaining because at that point you shot the best, and at the end of the day it's still a maximum of 100 points. Let's say there's only 5 targets. Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, 5 targets, 5 points. You get
yeah,
10 rounds to do
but-
it.
but
I
here's the
cleaned
other
it in
side of
5
it.
rounds. I should be rewarded for 5 rounds in my mag, but this other guy took 8 shots to clear it. How do we get the same score when he had to shoot more rounds?
More.
Well, and so my thoughts on that, the other side of the coin, is you would have more than 5 targets.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because essentially you're still only shooting 5 targets. And again, if we go into the whole bonus points, yeah, you didn't fire 5 rounds, but you're getting bonus points. And I would rather you have 10 targets than 5 targets with potential bonus points. And
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
I can see that. So
Yeah.
you just
Because
put
even the
10,
same with spinners too. Like back in the day with centerfire, it was the spinner's a spinner. You get 10 points for spinning it. That's all there is. If it took you 10 shots, 3 shots, whatever, the point of the spinner is to spin it, and then you get your 10 points. That's the way I grew up until NRL22, and then people are 22X. They're like, "Oh, you hit this 8-inch target at 50 yards, you get 5 points." It's like, wait, what? I'm getting credit for hitting an 8-inch or a 6-inch play at 50 yards, but I don't know how to spin a spinner, so I just miss out on a couple points. Not a big deal.
well, and I
so
actually
that's just
shared
been
that.
Weird.
If you remember I shared that centerfire spinner stage with you from Chaz McCrander's match.
Yeah,
So-
I did that at my match. Everybody loved it.
Yeah, for everybody who never shot it, it was the coolest spinner concept I've shot today. You shot at a spinner, and this was in a centerfire match. You had 10 rounds. You got your 1 point per impact, and then you could get 1 bonus point for spinning the spinner. However, once you spun the spinner, you were done for the stage. So let's say you spin it in 3 rounds, you get 4
Oh, I
points
see.
total,
So
and you're done.
You don't really want to spin it.
You
wanna keep it from
wanna
spinning
spin
and
it-
maybe
You want to spin it on
the
your
last
ninth.
On your last shot.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mind game, so that was the most fun I've had with the spinner because it doesn't incentivize you to spin it.
It's
Yeah.
incentivizes you to stop it, and then eventually, yeah. So you
It
have to do both
incentivizes you to
stopping
get
and
max
hitting.
points.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
I can see that. And again, I mean, everyone has different preferences and
but
stuff like that.
we're
So
you
obviously,
know we're on KWell. We're bringing up these interesting stages. You know, stage 1 was a hit to advance stage, and
Oh,
you see
yeah.
those getting phased out because they're not really a testament to anybody's shooting ability. You know, Devin made us all look like shit. She cleaned
yeah,
it,
she cleaned it.
and
She
then
cleaned
you
stage 1.
you have myself, and I sent like 4 or 5 shots at the very first 40-yard target. So then it's like, if you look at that stage, you're like, wow, Devin's makes Mark look like a piece of shit. But
Yeah,
She crushed it.
Devin's
Yeah.
going to win this thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's clearly not a testament of our overall shooting ability. Just for that particular stage, that's where we both ended up. I ended up with a 4 for the stage. Really, really tough way to start the day. But it's kind of a gimmick where you get blocked on the first target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. When you, Chris, Jason rejoined. When you left and rejoined, it didn't pick your audio. Or there it goes. Now it's recording. Your audio keeps failing apparently ever since you rejoined.
Oh,
Looks like it's working now.
good luck.
Yeah.
No, it'll recover. It's just difficult.
Yeah. No, like I thought you were gonna bring up the whole thing with like the KWL where, you know, the whole back in the day, if you missed a KWL shot, you lose all your points.
Yeah.
So
Yep,
you kind of had to know your limits.
That has been
And I'm
phased
happy
out now
that
too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And
Because at that point,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, it's just a gamble. You're gambling your points. Is what you're doing.
well, it's like if it's a
Don't get me
10-round
wrong,
stage.
I kind of like the gamble, but you know, it makes you think: do you go big or do you just go home or do you just play it safe? You know, it's like what do you do? Like you for counting your points at the end of the game or at the last stage. You know me, I go up there and yeah, my gun's shooting all right. I'm going to go for it, or no, I'm going to stop here. And then you're like, well, I need these points, and then you go for it, you miss, and then you end up down in 5th place. You know,
Yep.
so it
Yeah.
was kind of
Yeah.
fun, but at the same time, when you're in the truck on your way home, like, God, I hate that stage.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, and it sucks
Yeah.
when you take away earned points too. It's like a stage that
Mhm.
has a bank
Yeah.
target. You're like,
Yeah.
I got 9 impacts, and then I didn't get the 10th one on the bank target, and it's like, so you lost all 9 impacts. It's like, well, but I hit those targets, so.
But no, cool. Well, glad. Oh, Jason went out again. But we're glad that you guys all could make the podcast, and I'll get this uploaded here shortly. Chloe, Wes, thank you for putting on the match. It was a really good match. Mark, beat you. You suck. Brooke, good seeing you guys. You
Yeah.
again. Jason left his must cut out again. But Jason, good seeing you like always. Yeah, I'll do another one of these at the next match. So if I really don't think I'll be able to make the match this week in the Polar Vortex. But if I do, then we'll have one after the Polar Vortex. If not, there'll be another one of these after the Minnesota match. Ruth and Justin's Summer Ultra match. Probably the next X match I hit. So be a couple months, so look forward to that. But thank you guys for coming. And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya. Bye.